First member for the Buck Stark Award is Dr. Jim Cooper.
Thank you, Rand. When Jim Cooper asked me to introduce him tonight, it really was a pleasure, and I'm honored to be able to introduce my buddy. You hear? You hear? Now, Jim is originally from Iowa, but came to Texas back in the early 70s after doing a hitch in the Air Force. It was definitely Iowa's loss and Texas' gain. Jim first started shooting skeet while stationed in Turkey during his tour. Jim shot his first register skeet during this time, and he traveled throughout Europe shooting at military bases throughout Europe. After his tour, he came to Corpus Christi and set up his dental practice. Jim didn't shoot much then because he was busy setting up his practice and raising a family. When time permitted, Jim joined the Corpus Christi Gun Club and got back to doing what he loved best, shooting skeet. Jim is not only a participant, but he's a doer, so it wasn't long before he was building a skeet program and getting shooters to participate in registered skeet. Jim was instrumental in building regular skeet shoots in Corpus that drew shooters from all over the state. Jim did his share of traveling to different clubs, creating a network of friends throughout the state. Jim became a TSSA director in 1990 and served the TSS well, representing the shooters in his zone. In 2005, the call came, and Jim accepted the TSSA vice president position, which made him responsible for the state shoot over the next 2 years. Jim met and excelled at this challenge. The state shoot, I can tell you from experience, is one of the hardest and detail-oriented shoots to run, because not only is it a shoot, there are meetings, banquets, awards, and many other things not encountered at a normal shoot. The shoot takes almost a year to plan and execute, but Jim executed and excelled at it. Jim has a rare talent to be able to pick the best people for the job and inspire them to do the best job possible. He doesn't micromanage, but he trusts his volunteers to get the job done. It's a formula that might not work for everyone, but Jim knew how to do it, making his job easier and allowing him to focus on other issues as vice president. During this time, a lot of you will remember the NSC began to look for a new location. We thought they were going to move out of the state. At the time, it looked like they would be moving, which would leave Waco as the only viable location to hold the state shoot. Waco at this time decided that they needed to downsize, and if that happened and NSC moved, the state shoot would be in jeopardy. I asked Jim to serve on the committee that negotiated with Waco and resulted in both a TSSA and a private donation program allowing Waco to maintain and upgrade their facility, ensuring the future of the state shoot. Jim's presidency brought new challenges, which Jim again handled by choosing the best people for the job. Jim initiated a complete update of the bylaws. He helped bring changes to the Hall of Fame, helped make financial decisions, and even had time to help the new vice president run the state shoot. When Jim finished his term, we all thought he would go quietly away, but we were wrong. Jim called me one day and asked my opinion about the TSSA bidding on the U.S. Open and having the shoot at Waco. I thought he was crazy. After an hour of me giving Jim all the reasons that it wasn't a good idea, he thanked me for my opinion and promptly put a bid in for the shoot. Well, we got the shoot, and again, Jim used his people skills to staff and run the shoot. As much as I was against having any part, Jim talked to me, and before I knew it, I was in the middle of planning and helping run the shoot with a lot of other good volunteers here in this room tonight. Jim knew what I did, that the shoot would be a success, which it was. It allowed the TSSA to recoup the money they donated to Waco and for Waco to make some money for the club. And Jim, the only thing I got to say is please don't bid on the U.S. Open again. Now, I did discover, soon after I started working with Jim, I did discover his secret weapon. The person that helps, encourages, and stands toe-to-toe with him when he pursues his endeavors is his wife, Vicki. Now, let's give Vicki a big hand right here. She's his secret. Now, when Jim is not working for the TSSA, he maintains a successful dental practice and volunteers his time to many committees and endeavors for the dental community. He's not a man that likes to stand still. Jim is being inducted tonight to the Texas Hall of Fame for the Buck Stark Service Award. This award is given for outstanding work in the TSSA and for unselfish service to the overall perpetuation of the sport. Recipients of this award are the true mechanics of this sport. They keep the machine oiled and finely tuned, the ones that work countless hours behind the scenes to ensure that our sport and association are the best. And Jim is truly a master mechanic. It's my honor and pleasure to introduce to you the 2013 Buck Start Service Award recipient and newest member of the TSSA Hall of Fame, Dr. Jim Cooper.
Well, first of all, I want to thank Woody for making all of these things up, because I really needed some help here. I was going to ask him to go ahead and finish the talk I'm supposed to make, and he refused. So what I am going to do is promise that this is going to be what everybody wants at a state shoot awards banquet, short. So I wanted to tell you that this has been a very difficult year because Vicki has had some cancer that she's dealt with, and we've kind of been through it, and she's now on the road to recovery. And I do want to thank her for all of her help this year. You know, standing up here, the thing that really reminds me so much about Skeet is the fact that everybody helps. There's not a single person that you can go to and ask, can I get a little help here, that will turn you down. I have never been turned down, ever, for when we've asked for problems to be solved. Somebody is going to step up. And I can tell you that when I was serving as vice president for the state shoot, we asked all the wives of the officers to help. They were there. They stayed lots longer than we did, but they were working, making sure that everybody got through the lines, got what they needed, and I want to thank them all. Sharon, Lib, Ann, Judy, these people really took off and took good care of us. Cheryl, thanks. We had a great time. And we had a lot of people that shot Skeet with us that unfortunately when they shoot with us, they work with us. So they had to step up. And so Bob Davis, thank you. Bob ran a great state shoot for us for certain parts of it that we had to have his help. And I can tell you that we were very fortunate to have that kind of assistance throughout the years. I can say also that I've had some really good fortune. John Hill was Secretary Treasurer when I started doing this job, and whenever I had a question, I would call him, and he would sit down and say, you know, you are doing it wrong, but I can fix it. And he was generous. He was always careful to tell me where I was looking the wrong direction. But with his help, we managed to not go too far in the red. And I want to thank you, John. The other thing I'll say is that by being involved in the leadership of this organization, I had an opportunity to meet a lot of people that I would never have met otherwise and get to know them. And I've really enjoyed the opportunities that I've had to meet and get better acquainted with so many people who are wanting to help and do the jobs that need to be done. My shooting squads have been great friends and fantastic supporters of the game and of other shooters. I want to thank Mary D. Giovanni, Casey Jones, John Hatton, Tom Benefield, Curtis Cantwell, Clay, Rod, and Helen Sweatman, Bob Davis, and even Eddie Dwyer. You know, I can only say that when I first started shooting, I had no idea who Eddie Dwyer was. And once I learned, I managed to put a lock on my pants. The wallet was going to not go away. Everything was so much better when I was certain that he was not in the room. On the other side of that, we had a wonderful opportunity to shoot with Curtis Cantwell. When I told Curtis that I was selected for this award, he said, that's the Tenacity Award, isn't it? He said, if you can stick it out, I'm sure you'll get it. So I've been very fortunate to have people that'll tell me just like they think it is. And I was also certainly, I enjoyed having opportunities to have campfires where I had Tom Benefield and Curtis Cantwell after about 6 or 7 quarts of whiskey telling me how the Big Dipper was oriented and how to cook a clake. I want to thank our referees. You know, the Texas referees are the best referees in the country. We have... And there's 1 or 2 from Oklahoma that can make it too. But there are not as many of those. People will pay extra money to come here to shoot in Texas. They think that this is the place where they can have the best opportunity to have a great shoot, and they are more than willing to come here, and they love it here, and we can really thank the referees for what they do to make it happen. So thank you very much. I'd like to also thank the board of directors of the TSSA. You know, you have so many people. There's 30 people plus or minus on this board of directors, and they volunteer and they show up for their meetings. And when they are assigned duties, they do them. When we had the board of directors involved in the U.S. Open, we had one part of the board plus the president and the vice president. Those were people that were putting on the state shoot. The people that were involved in putting on the U.S. Open was a whole other group of people. You can tell everybody that is a member of the board of directors that they have done a fabulous job, and we owe it to them to thank them. I do want to take a minute here and thank Woody, because without that call, it wouldn't have been near as much fun. Thanks a lot.